join. And thanks for joining us, everyone. This is the What's New in Business Central 2024 Release Wave 2 webinar. Let's get going and just go through some introductions, tell you what we're going to be covering, and then we can get going in another minute or two. So we'll start off with what's new in the application and Copilot in version 25. Then we'll go over to the platform and the architecture, what changes has happened over there. We'll have a look at the development environment, what's happened on the development side of things, what's changed over there. We'll have a look at the Power Platform and Dataverse, and then we will continue on with a Q&A and call to action, and then what's new in the Empowered and Business Central. Just who will be our speakers today, just some quick introductions. We'll have everybody introduce themselves too quickly. My name is Bernie. I'm one of the PTSs here at Companion, looking after Business Central and also Microsoft Certified Trainer, and been involved with Navision/Business Central since '97. Next, we have Jan.
Yep, my name is Jan. I'm also a PTS at Companion, and I've been in NAV Business Central also for a really long time.
Okay, Marco.
Hello, everybody. I'm Marko Totovic. I am PTS at Companion for customer engagement and Power Platform product groups, and also I am Microsoft MVP for business applications.
Thanks, Marco. And then last we have William.
Yes, my name is Willem Voorthuizen, former PTS at Companion, 8 years at the company, now responsible for Empower Business Central to make sure that we give all the partners the possibility to have an enhanced version of Business Central. So that's it.
Awesome. I want to start off just by letting you guys know that the Business Central launch event actually starts today. So it'll start at 4:30 p.m. Central European time. So from where we are now, that's within, 3.5 hours. If you want to register for it, you can still register at aka.ms/BCLE. If you don't register for the launch event and you want to watch the session afterwards, you can always catch it on Microsoft's YouTube session. And this is where they do the deep dive. So unfortunately, I wish we had enough time to give you guys full details of absolutely everything that's changed. We can't even put all the features into the session. It's only an hour and a half. You can go on there, watch the sessions. It's probably going to be a full 30 hours plus. Every BCLE is usually about 30 hours plus of videos. The previous What's New in 2024 Release Wave 1 is already on YouTube. So if you missed that, you can go and watch them over there. But the launch event, they will have a launch session this afternoon, probably just a half an hour introduction session that'll be live. And then after that, there will be a bunch of on-demand videos that you can watch where you can get details about everything that we're actually discussing today. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. Q&A, there's a Q&A section. If you wouldn't mind putting the questions in there, it just helps us making sure that we actually do get to all the questions. So there will be a Q&A section. Throw your questions in there. There's also a chat section. You can throw some questions in there. If we don't get to the Q&A, if we run out of time, the chat will remain open after the session. So you're more than welcome to throw your questions in there. We will moderate it and we'll make sure that, and you can throw your questions in at any time. There's more than one person presenting. So while one person is presenting, other people can already answer some questions. Okay, so let's quickly jump into what's new in the application. I just want to make sure I have something up here that shows me my time so I don't go over. There is a bunch of blogs that I have written for us here at Companion. So I will make the presentation available for download. So as soon as I'm done presenting, I'll put a link up on the chat where you guys can actually download the presentation, because I will have a lot of links to a lot of extra information in my presentation as well. But if you just go to Companion's webpage, you can find blogs over there already written about the what's new stuff. You can also go to my LinkedIn page, find all the blogs over there as well. So if you want more details about any of the stuff that we're discussing today, there are 4 blogs where you can go and get some more information. Let's jump straight into subscription billing. This is probably one of the biggest changes and changes that a lot of people have mentioned that they're most excited about. Is the subscription billing and revenue and expense recognition. It's probably the first time we've seen a new feature being added to Business Central in a while. It's done by acquisition from Microsoft. They actually went to a company called Singhammer in Germany, and they purchased the product from them. We haven't seen much so far. There has not yet been any videos, any learn.microsoft.com articles released or anything like that. The only thing that we do have is what we have seen on the release page. You can look out for details on this on the Business Central launch event. This is what everyone's waiting for, to get more details. So up to date, we haven't had much details about what's going to be included, what it's going to look like, other than what we have seen in the actual preview product. There are some videos available on Singhammer's webpage, so you can go there, go and watch some of those videos in the meantime. But as of this afternoon, we'll have the Business Central launch event, which will be the first place we will actually get information. So that has made it a little bit difficult. A lot of people has gone and played around with it. I saw a lot of things on Yammer being posted about it. And some people have actually mentioned that it was intended for 2024 release wave 1, and Microsoft had to push it back. But it was actually never intended for 24 release wave 1. That was just Microsoft. Someone from Microsoft published it over there in error. But what can you actually do with this? It's subscription-based billing, such as paying for a service monthly, quarterly, or annually, and everything that goes along with that. You can also do usage-based billing. So either if you're billing for some other service that you're delivering on a monthly basis and you want to generate those monthly invoices, that might be tied to a contract. There might be a renewal date. You think about the photocopier industry as well. If you have usage-based billing, for instance, it's based on the amount of photocopies that you make per month. Certain of the Azure services is based on the actual usage that you have. All those types of billing you can do through the subscription billing. There was some confusion in some blog posts I saw online that some people thought that it's actually integrated into service within Business Central, but it's actually just some of the terminology used within the subscription billing that caused some of that confusion in the early days. Also, if you're dealing with this type of billing, you would need deferrals. So if you bill for a service that you deliver for the year upfront, you might have to post some deferrals within your subscription. Now, that doesn't actually use the standard deferrals within Business Central. It's got its own deferrals, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But there is things like automatic calculation of notice periods. Some of these features I actually did get off of Singhammer's webpage, but the calculation notice periods, like if you have a contract and you have to give 1 month's notice if you didn't want to renew the contract, etc. All of those features are actually built into the system. There's actually an invoice preview as well. So you can actually preview what an invoice looks like. You can also preview the quote. And in the invoice and the preview, it actually really sets out nicely what is an actual item that you're selling, what's the service attached to the item, what is going to be the monthly billing, etc. So it does give you a nice layout of that in the actual previews. There is going to obviously be a new subscription role center for the subscription billing. So there's a new role center that's been created for it. That's what it actually looks like. There's some new fields that's been added to your posting setup. So if you actually go into the posting setup, the general posting setup, you'll find 4 new fields. The customer contract account, customer contract deferral, vendor contract, and vendor contract deferral. So this feature, from the looks of it, deals with contracts and subscriptions from both the purchasing and the sales side of things. How I sort of assume that this works, and from what I've been able to determine from watching other people, reading some blogs, and just messing around, it seems as though what you do is you go and create an item, and on the item, you go and specify what service commitment option you want with that item. Once you've created the item, you then can't go and add that item to an invoice directly, because it actually gives you an error message. So what it seems like what you're supposed to do is take that item, add it to a service commitment package, and that service commitment package is sort of like, what type of service commitment do you agree to based on when you sell an item. So service commitment can either be optional or standard from what I've been able to determine, meaning that if I sell an item, you can either sell an optional service together with that item. So let's say I sell you a photocopier, I can then sell you an optional service with that item where I bill you on a monthly basis and then come and service the item, whatever it might be. But you add that item to the commitment package, and that commitment package, if it is standard, it gets added automatically. But if it's optional, it'll ask you, do you want to then add it? And when you add that item to a sales order, that commitment package is then added to a sales service commitment. And then obviously you can go and edit it over there, or you can just leave it as a standard. And then that basically is what is going to create your commitment billing then afterwards. And then on a monthly basis, start billing the customer for that package. There is a service object that actually gets created, and this is where people actually thought that it was integrated into the service management in some way or another. But the service object is actually a new type of object other than the service management that gets created, sort of in the same way that a service item actually gets created every time you sell an item. So if I've got an item, photocopier model XYZ, and I sell that item, every time I ship that item, it'll create a service object for you. There is also a recurring billing worksheet, obviously, where you will go and do all of your recurring billing, or where you will run all the recurring billing that needs to be created. And then a new ledger is actually created in this new module. It's called the Customer Contract Deferrals. So it's a new ledger entry. When you search for related entries, it'll actually find these entries for you, and it creates entries to keep track of all the deferrals that you do. So like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't actually use the standard Business Central deferral templates. It actually has its own deferral setups. Like we saw in the posting groups, you can specify the GL account over there for the deferrals, and then it keeps track of all the deferrals in its own ledger entries. So like I mentioned earlier, we don't actually have too much details about this. We will find out more in the Business Central launch event this afternoon when the videos become available. We'll find out a little bit more details about this. But you can also create customer and vendor contracts. So from the customer or vendor card, you can go new documents and you can say you want to create a new contract. And there is a recurring billing worksheet that you can then just, sorry, I think I duplicated a slide over there. That's what I was looking for. So where do we go from here? You can go and watch the Business Central launch event video. Wait for more documentation to become available on learn.microsoft.com. You can go and watch the videos on the Singhammer website. There's actually been a press release from them. It seems as though existing customers will be migrated to this existing feature. And you can go and play around with the feature in a sandbox environment. Make sure that you have a good understanding with the product before you start rushing into sales. This is still very early days, but the product at least is mature. So I think our time to market should be a little bit faster than if it was a brand new product. Someone's asked in the chat over there, does this require Business Central Premium or Essentials? I think this just goes with the Essentials. There's been no mention that this actually goes into the Premium version. In actual fact, it should be Essentials because I was playing around with it before I changed my environment to a Premium environment. One of the other changes that we've seen that's new for 25, that's a big change, is the multiple VAT numbers. There's been quite a couple of changes over the last couple of versions with regards to VAT numbers. With 2024 release wave 1, release wave 2, we saw the 2024 release wave 1, we saw the change that it was 23 release wave 2. It was the non-deductible VAT in W1. So what Microsoft did was they had a look at the stuff in the BC ideas, and they went through and they prioritized certain things. And the number one priority was the non-deductible VAT. So that was obviously introduced first. 24 release wave 1, they then sort of restructured everything, made sure that the documentation was up to date, and then they created a new aka.ms for us, which is BC VAT, where you can go and find all details about the VAT. And then they said, okay, well, with the multiple VAT numbers, it's not possible for them to actually introduce all the features at once. So they're slowly phasing it in. So the multiple VAT numbers is first rolling out on the customers module. There was a BC Office Hours event on this on the 5th of September. The recording will be available on BC Office Hour recordings soon. I know Microsoft is having some trouble actually getting the recordings updated on there. So they did make it available for download on some other link a little while ago, but that link has actually expired. I wanted to share that link with you guys, but luckily I checked it before the time. This change has been long awaited. It's actually related to some obligations for companies in the EU. So it's a legal obligation that they actually have to have multiple VAT numbers and then specify the VAT number, on their invoices, depending on where they're actually selling from. So if you, for instance, have a warehouse in a different country, you need a different VAT number and you need to go and register in that country for that VAT number. We actually have had some issues with specifically this feature not being available in the African region as well, where we actually have found in one or two situations where customers might have different VAT numbers, one legal entity, but with different VAT numbers. So with customers in this release, you will find some changes has already been implemented. Like I said, it was the second most requested change. And Microsoft has actually invited everybody to go to the roundtables at the Directions Conference if you want to give any input on this. So there will be roundtables. Look at the schedule, find these sessions, and make sure that you attend them if you do have any input with regards to this. And the documentation for this is already done on learn.microsoft.com, so you can actually find it over there. And remember, aka.ms/BCVAT if you want to give some input as well. So how does this work? There is a new page that's been created, Alternative Customer VAT Registration. And basically on this page, you go and say, this customer in this country, this is the tax registration number, this is the general business, and it should actually be VAT business, but I did the screenshot out of the US version. I just realized it should actually say VAT business posting group, but in the US it actually says tax business posting group. And then what you do is you can even get to this from the customer card. So if you're on the customer card, you go customer alternative VAT registration, you can get to it that way as well. So how does this work? With the multiple VAT numbers set up on the customer, you will have a ship to address, and that ship to address will have a country code on the ship to address. If the country code is different from the country code on the customer card, so on the customer card, I have a country code, and if the ship to address is different from the address from the country on the customer card, it will go and say, okay, if it's not different, then obviously we use the same VAT number, so no changes will be needed. But if the country code is different, it'll go and check whether an alternate VAT number exists for that country. If it does exist, it will use that VAT number. If it does not exist, it will pop up with a notification. And I put a screenshot of what the notification looks like at the bottom. It says, the country for the address is different from the customers. Do you want to add an alternate tax registration number? And then you've got the option to add or do not add. Okay, and then if you do add it, then obviously it just uses that number from that point forward. So it'll give you a notification and then use the alternate number at that point in time. Also on documents, because remember on documents now what could happen is I pick the customer, and then in the shipping and billing tab, in the ship to address, I can put a custom address. So this is an address that doesn't come from the customer card or from the alternate ship to address. So from the sales document, if I use an alternate shipping address or a custom address, it will go and look if the ship to address is in a different country. If it's not in a different country, it'll use the existing VAT number. If it is a different country, it'll go and look in the VAT number posting groups. If there is one there, it'll use that. it'll first ask you to confirm. Sorry, it'll first ask you to confirm. Do you want to use the existing setting? If you say yes, it just uses it. And if you say no, it uses the existing setup from the customer card. So that's how this will work. So roadmap going forward, 2024 release wave 1 is the multiple VAT number per customers. Then in 25 release wave 1, the next version, version 26 of BC, you will find that they will do the same thing, but on the vendor side of things. Then we will go into a period where they just want to stabilize these features. So they'll give it another 6-month period. And then after that, we'll have the multiple VAT per company feature being released. So that's the roadmap going forward for this specific feature. They did on the webinar, on the BC office hours that they had on this topic, they did give us this sort of architecture roadmap. So you can basically see over here what they've done and how they have actually implemented this. They've implemented this using interfaces, and they've made it fully extensible. So just for the developers on the call, there is some events that you can actually go and utilize, and you can go and implement certain interfaces over there. And the roadmap that they've given us over here shows us which events. So if you want to override this and totally customize how this works for your specific country or for a specific customer that might have specific requirements for this, you can go and have a look at this. Remember, aka.ms/BC office hours recordings is where you will find the recordings for this. And remember, I will make this presentation downloadable so you can get it off of there as well. So if you want more details about this, just go and watch that office hours recording. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. They did also mention that the table that they created, the new alternative customer VAT registration table, you would think that the primary key would be customer number VAT country code, but they've actually introduced an ID field over there, which seems like it's an integer that just increments. So just look out for that. That is something that is contra to the standard sort of design principles within Business Central. They've also created some automated tests for us over there. So there are some automated tests that you can actually go and use and run if you are actually going to be implementing this. Oh yeah, and the automated tests, just for those of you that have written your own automated tests on top of the existing VAT functionality, just remember that you might need to change your automated tests to now incorporate this new functionality. See how we're doing for time. Some other financial improvements. There is now a default quantity for the type GL account. So in your sales and receivables setup and in your purchase and payable setup, there is this setting, default GL account quantity. And if you switch that on, whenever you choose a GL account on a sales or purchase order, the quantity will default to 1. There is a change on the dimensions page that will now show the dimension value name. Small change, but it actually does make a big difference to users actually using it. There has been some changes to the reporting within Business Central, especially the Word reports. I've included a couple of blogs at the bottom over there, as well as aka.ms/BC Word samples, if you want to go and learn more about these Word samples. So Microsoft's made quite a couple of changes to what you can do with the Word reports. There's a new Word add-in that you can use to make certain fields conditionally visible or not. There's new themed layouts. These layouts you can now use to change the report's look and feel. And you can also use sections in your Word layouts. And on some of these features, Jan will give you some more details a little bit later on. But they've actually implemented this in the new sales invoice layout. So there are quite a couple of new layouts within BC. But if you look at the sales invoice layout, there's this new setting that says hide lines with 0 quantity. And if you switch that on, then any lines that has a 0 quantity will actually be skipped. You can go and look at this blog. They actually give you a little bit more details on it. And then at the bottom over there, Stephen Renders actually did a nice blog about some of the changes that you see in here as well. There has been some new reports created for us for demoing financial reporting. So in Business Central, there's this feature called financial reporting. It used to be the old Oh, I forgot even what the feature was called in the old, but it's a renamed old feature from Navision. But they've created 5 new row definitions and 12 new column definitions for us. Yes, account schedules. Thanks. Someone's put it in the chat over there. It's the old account schedules. So they've created 5 new row layouts for us and 12 new column definitions for us. And you can combine these in any way. So any one of these row layouts, you can combine with any of the column layouts. So you can see that there's a lot of different financial reports that you can actually create over there. In this version, version 25, the demo data is only ready in the US version. So if you go into the US version, you can already run some of the financial reports and you can see what they actually look like. But in any of the other country versions, the row and column definitions will be there, but they will not be mapped to the Cronus data. So if you want to demo this, just go to the US version or create a US demo company, and you will have access to actually demo these. Any other countries, if you want to demo this with your own country data, just do the mappings and you should be good to go. Quite a couple of changes to the service management within Business Central. You've seen in the last 2 to 3 versions, Microsoft's putting a lot of the standard features that's been available in other areas into areas that hasn't had it. So the service management module hasn't had the ability to archive orders. That's now been added. In the project management module, they have now included the item availability from field service work orders. So in the old Business Central slash it's the project to field service integration. You can now, from the field service side of things, you can actually see your item availability. What you would need to do is on the locations, there's a setting called couple to field service. You would need to say which ones you want to actually integrate into field service. And then remember to make sure that you enable the inventory availability in the assisted setup. And then what you should be able to do is if you go item availability by location, you'll be able to see on any product on the field service side what the actual quantity is that you've got available of a specific product. That's quite a nice change that they've pulled through into the field service module. You can now use directed putaways and picks in warehouses with projects. So if you are using projects, in the past, you couldn't use warehouses that had directed putaways and picks. You can now. There are some limitations to this. I put a link at the top over there if you want to learn more about this. But it means that you actually have to use the warehouse management. In other words, when you purchase the item, it has to go into the warehouse through the directed put away, and then you have to pick the item onto the actual location. So in other words, you can't go and put the project number and the project task number on the purchase order and purchase the items directly onto the project. You now have to use the directed put it away, and then go and pick it. And then if you actually want to use this feature, remember that on the warehouse in the bins tab, you have to go and specify there's this new field to project bin code, because obviously with the directed picks, it'll actually always use that specific bin. Add extended text to project planning lines. The extended text feature is a standard feature. It's been in the vision since I actually think it's been there since version 1, but it's been available everywhere except in the projects module. You now have the extended text available on the project module as well. You can now create a purchase order directly from the projects. So same type of feature as what you would have on a sales order, where you can create the purchase order directly. That's now available over there. And then on the you can then review the purchase lines. So on the project, you can then go to purchase lines and actually see all the purchase lines for all the purchase orders that you've created. There's been a couple of changes to the sustainability module. So the sustainability module actually got a new role center. When the sustainability was launched in the last version, I think I spent a couple of hours looking for the role center before I realized that there actually is no new role center for the sustainability module. But now for version 25, they've actually launched a role center that you can actually access as well. There's now a sustainability section directly on the actual item card where you can specify certain details as well. There is a new sustainability certificate that's been added into Business Central. We can actually specify some details. There is also a sustainability, a whole bunch of new features that's actually been added. Report sustainability entries with your financial reports. So you can now actually use the financial reports. There is a new totaling type for the sustainability, so you can actually include it into any type of standard reports that you create with the financial reports. There's a new sustainability scorecards and goals feature where you can actually set goals. There is, you now have the ability to use multiple subcategories for one sustainability account. I wasn't actually able to find this exact feature, so I'm not sure exactly what they meant over there. We might have to wait for the Business Central launch event for this one. But you can actually specify one sub account for every sustainability account. I wasn't able to find how you're able to specify multiple accounts, but they say that that is a new feature. It might just not be released yet. You can now purchase carbon credits as well. That's a new feature that they've added to the sustainability as well. There's been a couple of Shopify improvements, multiple payment method tracking, accurate accounting and reporting, synchronizing of payment transactions, and the import using Shopify meta fields. So I've put quite a bit more detail in my blog on those features as well as on the new features for 24 release wave 2. You can find more details over there. Just a couple of new other changes. Probably one of the bigger changes as far as impacting on the users is the use of a new modern search. So one thing I didn't actually add that screenshot in there. So if we just go here quickly, if you now go to any type of list page in version 25, if you click on the search button, you click on the down arrow, you will see that you have the option of choosing over there. Remember that that is a feature in the feature management. So if you do upgrade someone from an older version to version 25, that is a feature that you will find over here. Use optimized search in text. So because this is a new environment that I created, it's already activated. You might need to activate this feature over here if you want users to actually use it. One of the biggest changes that it actually does is the modern search, even though it is faster, the legacy search might be a little bit slower, is that the modern search does not necessarily want the words to be in order. Like if you think of the Canon group, if you search for the group, it'll find the Canon group with a modern search, whereas it won't find that feature with a legacy search. With a legacy search, it needs the words to be in a specific order. With a modern search, it'll find, if you just search the group, it'll still find the Canon group. Then some Copilot changes. Once again, on the Copilots, you'll actually see that most of the Copilot features, if you actually go to the Copilot page in Business Central on version 25, if you go to Copilot and AI capabilities over there, you'll see that not a lot of has actually changed over here. There's a couple of things that's come added by to the list. But if you look at the general availability list, we've always had the marketing text suggestions, but the bank account reconciliation has now been moved to GA. The rest of the items have actually stayed as previews. And you'll actually see over there that one or two new features has been added. But like the suggest number series with Copilot, which actually got pushed back, is now been added to the list. But we'll probably see a lot of the new features actually being added in the coming months. One thing I do want to just show you over here is that if you go to aka.ms/BC YouTube, there is actually a playlist on there with all of the Copilots. So if you go to the playlists over there on that YouTube channel, there is a playlist with a whole bunch of new Copilot demos. There is actually an aka.ms to get straight to this, and now I've actually forgotten that one. Let's quickly go through, start using Copilot without having to set things up. Previously, you had to go through a setup to actually activate the Copilot. It'll be activated by default from now on. There is some new automated tests with Copilot extensions. So if you do have Copilot extensions, it's now been included into the Business Central test toolkit. So you're now actually able to write automated tests for your Copilot extension. You can now use the chat with Copilot. They will extend it so that you can use it with your installed add-on apps. So then the Copilot chat will now look into your add-ons, and you'll be able to use the chat for your add-ons as well. The bank reconciliation has been moved to GA, like I showed you guys. Create product information faster with Copilot, so you can have it look at existing items. And when you create new items, things like attributes and all these other things that you add, all the information that you would usually add to an item, it'll start adding for you a lot quicker by utilizing the Copilot. Creating sales lines easier. So if you create a new sales order, it can actually create the sales line a lot quicker for you by utilizing the Copilot. Power Automate flows. Marco will go into a little bit more detail on that feature a little bit later on, and then summarize any record with Copilot. So when you create, have any record, this feature isn't available yet. If you have a look at the list of available features in BC at the moment, you'll see that that one isn't available yet. So we're looking at that one probably being released in the future sometime. So that's all the changes to the application. I see I messed up the animations in these slides. Sorry about that. What's new in the platform and architecture? Let's quickly delve into that. With the new updates within BC, there's a new update cycle. So this is what the updates used to look like. We used to have a 30-day preview before the product became generally available. Then after the product became generally available, we had 7 days after which the product was available. You could create new environments, but you couldn't yet update any of the existing environments. Then after day number 7, you had 60 days during which you could actually update to the latest version. After that, you went into a grace period where Microsoft would on a weekly basis attempt to upgrade the environment. So from day 67 to day 150, Microsoft would try to contact you to make sure that you actually upgraded the environment. And after that, you went into an enforcement period where Microsoft would uninstall the extensions that was causing the problems and force the environment to actually update. How that is being changed now is that from now on, you will still have the 30-day preview. After that, the product will become available. 7 days later, it will go into scheduled updates. So during the first 7 days, you can create new environments, but you can't schedule any updates. And then after day 7, you can start scheduling updates, but you can then schedule updates for the next 5 months. So in other words, you don't have to update within the next 60 days. You now have up until the 1st of March up to where you can actually upgrade to version 25. You will then go into a grace period from the 1st of March to the 1st of April. And after the 1st of April, you will go into the enforcement update period. You will see over there that the grace period will now overlap with a preview of version 26. And then we will go into the version 26 update period. At the same time, we go into the version 24 enforced update period. You can also set the update cadence of your apps. I'm actually not sure if Jan actually goes into detail about this. I did ask him and I've completely forgotten, but you can now say that should my apps update by default with minor and major versions or only with major versions? Now, with the minor updates that ship every month, you will now be able to opt in or opt out of the minor updates. So in other words, I can go in and I can go and say, I don't want to run the minor updates. So in other words, you can say, I want to skip the minor updates. It does not affect the scheduling of your major updates. So in the past, the update shipped every month. It would ship around about the 1st. You would have 7 days after which the update scheduling would start. And then after that, it would automatically upgrade. But you can now say, I want to skip the minor versions and I don't want to upgrade to every minor version. And also, when you create new environments, you will now be able to create an environment on any of the supported versions. So the update is only, so this is a mock-up of what the admin center might look like going forwards, where you can choose which version you'd actually like to update to. But the update management is currently in private preview. The private preview started around, I think it was somewhere in September, the private preview started. It will go into public preview soon. It's supposed to go into public preview now in October. And the public preview will last, will only be available for the Microsoft managed environment. So any environment that's localized by Microsoft, they will be part of the public preview. Partner localized environments will remain on the current update cadence. So in other words, and let me just show you, I actually forgot to add a slide on this one as well. But if you just search for Business Central country availability, and you go to the first link that you find over there, you will see that every country is either partner localized or Microsoft localized. So that's what I'm talking about. If your country is Microsoft localized, you will have the new upgrade cadence. If your country is partner localized, it will remain on the old upgrade until we reach version 26. The general availability of this feature will be March 2025, where all countries will then go on to the new upgrade cadence. There will also be some communication changes on this. Microsoft is saying that they will be rolling out better error messages, better email notifications, and better partner telemetry signals on these environment upgrade processes. You can find out more about this at aka.ms/24w2 upgrade management preview. Watch out on Yammer for news about this, and then on the Business Central launch event, we'll find out a little bit more details about this as well. Some other platform changes. You can now migrate record links and notes using the cloud migration tooling. In the past, you weren't able to actually migrate those with the cloud migration tooling. That's been added. There's now been support for IP version 6 for enhanced security and scalability. I don't think this will actually impact any of us too much. View app compatibility with future versions in the admin center. So on your extensions, you'll be able to see if you're compatible with future versions straight in the admin center. We haven't seen exactly what's going to happen with that or what that's going to look like. We're still waiting to see about that. You can manage per tenant extensions in the admin center as well. Goes together with the previous one. Jan will probably tell us more about that. Enable additional countries and regions. As with every version that we have, Microsoft's obviously expanding to other regions and countries as well. So we'll probably see more countries being added to that list that I showed you guys just now as well. And you can now see a list of manageable environments for your Microsoft Entra apps and get notified about issues with regards to the job queue background processing. I would have liked to have said more about that, but I'm afraid I'm running out of time rapidly over here. But there is some improved feedback if job queues actually fail or there's problems with any job queues. Just an honorable mention about changes that has actually happened. So this was, I think, 24.4 or something around there, or maybe a little bit before that, but you are now able to actually add security groups to your environments where you're then able to control who's able to access every environment that you've got. And then that actually gives you the availability to control which partner accesses which environment if you have a multinational company with different partners managing different environments. Jan, I think this is going over into your slides over here.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Pleasure.
A lot of the things that you mentioned in the last few minutes are already noted here. Some of the issues, some of the things are only released later, like the IPv6 support is from February. The record notes and links updates is from next November. And the list of manageable apps and per tenant extensions are from December. Then let's go from left to right. Encryption at rest with the customer key. That's something that Marco will probably show more about because it uses the Power Platform settings there. What you need to do in Business Central in the admin center is link your environment to your Power Platform environment. Let's go to the next slide. Can I take control?
Yeah, maybe you should go over to your, let's say, do control.
I will do it. Oh, if that works, that's also fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Here we are. In the admin center, you can select the list of Microsoft Entra apps that can access your environment. And that's used by partners to make sure that their customers can be updated by the partner. But that poses a problem for the partner because they don't know actually what environments they can access. So what will be added to the system is that the partner can see which environments he can access using this specific Microsoft Entra app. So that's more for partners for managing their customers. Then what we already have in the admin center is that we can see the Microsoft apps that are installed, or the app source apps basically. This list will be extended that it will also include per tenant extensions so that you can install or manage your per tenant extensions here from the admin center. Then there's already the job queue notification. If something goes wrong with your job queues, nowadays you just have to go into each environment and check your job queue. So there will be a notification now. For now, it is just a in-app notification. So you get this blue line in the top where it says, okay, this job queue had an issue, and you can start it from there. External notification is already in preview, and that means that it will emit a business event. So that from other software like Power Platform, you can query your environments and notify, or you can notify Power Platform that something is happened with your job queue and that an administration needs to look into that. There's this animation. We'll click through that. Yeah. Then we have a lot of developer things. The italics items I will discuss here. Let's go from right to left in this case. What we can do now is we can download app source symbols from apps. That's really important if you build an extension that extends on a third-party app that you support, that you download from app source. And the problem was that you could not do that without installing it, and that installing in, for example, an ALGO for GitHub environment was really hard. Then you had to contact your ISV, and you had to make arrangements with them that you get their source code, or at least their symbols, every now and again. Microsoft is automating that so that you can download these app source symbols directly, so that your GitHub environment can test your app against a installed app source app. The second thing is that if you were updating an app in your environment and that failed, and there were other extensions that were depending on that app, they were uninstalled first. Then the app would be tried to update, and that failed. And then what happened is that your dependencies remained uninstalled. So what Microsoft will do now is try to reinstall your uninstalled apps so that at least you are in the same situation as you were before the failed installation. Then what Bernie also mentioned, in the new Word layouts, you can use sections. And there was one restriction there that if you had a Word merge data item in your report, then you could not use sections because the system used that. And that's now updated. So from now on, even if this property is set in your reports, you can still use sections. So that's a huge improvement there. Then in the middle column, the last item is package resources in AL, which will be available from December. That helps you as a developer. If you want to ship data with your app, for example, setup data or specific images or whatever you need to package, you can now include that in your AL code so that you do not need to get an external link to install this data, and you do not need to write specific code to create huge amounts of data, but you can just package it as a kind of a configuration package, and you can install it from within your own app. Then let's get to the demo. I will share my screen now. That should be this one. Yep. The first thing that we will look at is interfaces. Interfaces were, until now, something that you could not extend in Business Central. So if there is an interface, which is basically a definition of code that needs to be available, needs to be inside your code units that implement that interface, you could not extend such an interface. Well, now you can. And what you can see here is that I created an implementation of an interface. I implemented a webshop default interface, and it says, well, these functions, these procedures, add item line and remove item line are fine, but I still miss some of them. I need a function called recalculate, and I need a function open cart. So let's go to the definition of this interface, and here you see that this interface does not actually prescribe these functions, because it is an extension, an empty extension in this case even, of two other interfaces. So the webshop order interface, which is here in orders, that are these functions that are already in there. But in my webshop cart, there are other functions, and I also need to include these. So my extended interface, which does not add something from itself, but only combines, in this case, two other interfaces, I can use that to create an implementation, and it needs to implement all the functions of all the interfaces that I reference. So I can have a code unit that can act, in this case, as a webshop default interface, but it could also act as a webshop order interface because it implements all these functions. But how do I know if my implementation can do that? Well, there's an extra function for that, and that is called is. So if I have a variant, which is an interface in this case, I can check if that one is equal to, in this case, my webshop order interface. And if it is implementing it, then I can also cast it as that. So I can, let's say, change the type. So from this webshop default interface, I can change it to a webshop order interface. Here in the bottom procedure, I have this function in the order features. And if I go to the source code there, you can see that it requires a webshop order interface as a parameter. And I don't have that yet because I have just a variant there. But I want to make sure that it is a webshop order. But now if I call it with my webshop default interface, I can say, well, let's just use this webshop order interface function that I created and cast that one into a webshop order. So if it is implementing the webshop order, then this function will work. If you call something that doesn't work, of course you will get an error message, but in this case at least you can manage from your code that you send out the right type of interface to your code. Then what we were looking at, here's my list. We get profile extensions. Yeah. Profiles are basically the profiles that you assign to a user, and you can now extend these profiles. So you can add your own caption to it, and you can customize also existing profiles. So this really improves the way that you can support your customers and your users. Then we can have a full text search option now into my code. So the full text search that is available from the application can now be extended by you as a developer. And I, of course, have a demo for that. What I've done is I have added one text field to the item table. It's called text content. And there's a property there that says optimize for text search. And I can set that one for true. And when I do that, then my text search can use this field for the full text parameter. It uses a SQL modified version of the contains statement. I can even demo that, I think. Okay, so I have here my item list with my added field of text content, and there's here in the bottom is one called containing the word companion, and I created an action here that says filter on everything companion. And when I do that, I just get this one selected list. Because not only can I use this text field, this text search here, so I can search it here in my company data. Here I get it automatically after I configured the field to be included in the search. So there is some configuration to be done, but I can also use it in code. And there is an extra filter option that I need to use there. And that is using this function, set filter, and then start with 2 ampersands, then your search text, and then an asterisk at the end. This is not the way you should do it in code, but at least you see the parts of your search text here. So I can do that, and it will find my text. And as you may have noticed, it is not case sensitive automatically. I look for small, for lowercase, and it finds everything that contains at least the word companion in my case. Then we have something called a ternary operator. People used to other languages like JavaScript or even some other languages will already know this one. It is a shorter way of writing an if-then-else statement. If-then-else statements basically needs to select a value. In report 5055 contact cover sheet, and there are more places in the application where you see it. There is this code: if marks2, which is a Boolean, then marks2 text number 2 gets the value of mark text, and otherwise it gets the empty text. With the new syntax, I can rewrite this by first giving the assignment. So this value will get assigned a value. Then it will get the condition, the Boolean value. Then I use the question mark, and then the true value. So if this condition is true, then this will be the result. And otherwise, that's the colon, then the second part will be the result. So this does exactly the same. If marks2 is true, then mark text will be set as value, and otherwise it will be an empty text. It saves you 3 lines of code, and I think the readability is, well, at least as good as it was. Then there is an update in the AL language, which is not in the release notes, but it is mentioned in the changelog of your AL compiler. There are new date functions. By the way, there is a typo in the documentation there. You can use the week number function now. So if you have a date, then you can have a built-in function to get a day or a month or a year. We already had functions for that in AL, but you can now use the standard functions also. So it's just an extra option that you get, which is more in line with how other Microsoft languages use this. Okay. I already mentioned that you can now get the symbols from some apps from AppSource, but you can also pull the extension source from AppSource for apps that allow that. So let's get back to my demo. When I go to my extension management page, and for example, I go to the Business Foundation, I can, sorry, for a different one, let's try this one here. This is my demo code. I can now download my source. And another one is the Business Foundation, is where I can even open my source from Business Foundation in Visual Studio Code. So when I do that, it will try to open my Visual Studio Code, which will fail because of how I set it up. Let's open it. Open a new URI in a new folder and select that one. Yes, save that. Well, that's if you get live demos. I tried it this morning and it worked. Sorry for that. What you will get is you will get the source code of the base application from Microsoft just as a GitHub project, and it will pull that from GitHub. Then there is a code action for with. As you may know, the with command is being deprecated. You should replace it everywhere by doing a direct link to the code that you need. I closed my VS Code, so let's reopen that. So here I have a with command with customers, and if I select that one and my workspace has been loaded, then I get a code action here saying, okay, do you want to fix this one only in this document or in my project or in my workspace? So if I change it in my workspace, it will automatically do it in all the places where it was. It was also here in vendors. Then we already have performance profiling, which is always requiring some action from a customer or from a user to set up. What you can now do is you can schedule this profiling. So you can set up a starting time and an ending time, and do some filtering, and then it will automatically start this performance profiling. In my environment, it did not work yet, but that may be some of my setup issues. So this new page is there, and it will help you setting up this performance profiling. I think that's it from my side.
Okay. Now it's my part.
I will share my stop sharing.
Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, I hope that everybody can see it. So from my side, I have prepared what's new with Business Central and connected with some kind of Power Platform or Dynamics CE. So first and important part is that now integration with field service is extended to service parts. So you can't only connect it to the projects as it was previous. Now you can connect it to the services, and this now extends really full integration to be stable and to be adjustable in every possible use case where you can probably utilize it. Here you can see the possible options. So now you can connect it both to service and projects, but you have the possibility to choose in between one another. So when you go to the assisted setup and start setting up the integration with field service, at the end on integration type, you will have this question like here on a screenshot, where you will select the specific table where you would like to integrate, or both of them it is needed. It is important to know that this integration works only if you have premium user experience set it up. So this is important part, and here on the link, I believe that later on you will have this presentation shared. You can find all details and the full step-by-step project, but nothing specifically changed on how you are setting up the integration. The only part is that now you can integrate a different table, and you have some other type of extension, and to be more use case friendly whenever you need it in some specific moment. Next thing is still going to be in preview from December, so currently you cannot test it, but it is a possibility to start creating Power Automate flows with the Copilot. So how this helps? You know that in Power Automate there is Copilot, which can help you create your own Power Automates with natural language conversation, and in some use cases this is really helpful. But now this feature integrates Copilot, which you have in Power Automate, with Business Central, so that you can start creating flows based on a natural language. So when from Business Central you want to start creating Power Automate, now this will allow you to start using natural language conversation from the beginning. Of course, this feature in Power Automate is not always the greatest one, but it is really helpful, and it is now really stable and helps really a lot, and understands what you're asking from him. Especially if you are not Power Automate day-to-day user, this could be really helpful, and it can boost general productivity of creating Power Automates with Copilot from day to day. The next part is little bit outside of Business Central, but really connected. The next thing is where we are going to talk about it is Copilot for Finance. So this platform or application, it is important because it is standalone and it is not only connectable to the Business Central, you also can connect it, for example, to SAP. But what is important is that this platform can allow you to work inside of the Outlook and Excel and combine your data from your Business Central and to create everything what is necessary. So some writing emails, taking out some data, adjust yourself how you want to write something really with data so that you do not have to go look around through the system and to get some information or to push back the records. And on the other side in Excel, you have possibility to, again, with conversation with Copilot for Finance, take data, create some reports or create whatever is needed. So it is really useful, and I know that it is standalone, but it is really useful platform. And how platform generally looks when you and what you have it in the back and in front of the application. So admin layer is basically in Microsoft Admin Center, and there you're doing some basic setup, but important part is the client layer. So Copilot for Finance, as I told you, will be is available only on Excel and Outlook. So you will have it as add-on where you can click and go and use it. But on the other side, from service and data AI layer, which you're seeing here, we have combinations of OpenAI integration, a lot of different APIs which are there to connect everything. An important part, the connections with Power Platform, ERP, as I said, possible connections to the SAP Finance and Operations. So a lot of different possibility to take data out of different platforms and to use them through Excel and Outlook whenever you need it, without needing to leave those platforms in any moment whenever you're there. So the productivity, the idea of this whole platform is to really, again, boost productivity, to have data available whenever you need it in one place, and of course to work with full natural language conversation and to understand you whatever what you want to say to it, so that you do not have to think about some specific prompts or specific combination of words. It is there to really help you whenever you're using it. Some limitations here is that it is free for anyone with Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 license. This does not include Copilot for Microsoft 365. We don't know still general pricing which is going to be yet. It requires to have Office or desktop platform 2016 or above, but it's always perfect to have the full cloud version, and then you have the latest one, and it is working in the best possible way. Currently is working only with English, so everything what you're communicating with Copilot should be in English. And for public preview, US regional settings are only available, but it could be deployed for the most of the regions as we checked. And the last part is encrypt data, that you have possibility to encrypt data at rest with customer managed encryption key. And what this means, that this feature allows you to use CM key keys provided, which you have, and to use them as your own Azure key vaults to protect and control access to environment and everything. When you create this, everything from the perspective of the setup and using these keys are done through the Power Platform. So this is why we are keeping this inside of the Power Platform. Jan also mentioned it. So when you create your keys, you will then go to the Power Platform Admin Center and have possibility to work with all together and to set up the policies in a level which you need in specific use case. And from here, I will again stop sharing, and now I believe that William is there.
Yeah, William, I've shared the screen for you.
Yep, thanks. I will take control. So thanks. Now, after you've heard a lot about what's new, especially also, of course, what's new in Business Central, I would love to dive a little bit more in some other areas because there's always the idea that there are more features wanted. So what I would love to do in the last few minutes we have in this call is to show you what we have in Empowered Business Central 2024 Release Wave 2. Or as one of my colleagues referred to as 2024 Release Wave 3. So in Empowered Business Central, on top of what you saw demonstrated by Jan Veendouw and Bernie earlier, we also get additional features like, for example, extended attribute management. So probably you are familiar with the attributes on items. We also have made it available on customers, vendors, contacts, projects, and resources. We have a lightweight document management system included. So you are able to store all your documents on all kinds of records, so on projects or on customer cards or whatsoever. We have easy item finder. So if you have a lot of items and you are filling in your sales line, now you will be guided basically through a tree view. Imagine a colleague or a whole list of furniture you can first choose for chairs, and then you select premium chairs, and then you're only presented with the premium chair. So easy item finder. Advanced costing. Users are, especially the finance ones, want to see the true cost of an item. So including all the additional costs like insurance or custom clearance or shipping costs or whatsoever. So you will get the true margin on a specific item. That's something which is sometimes quite complex, especially if you want to have it also reflected in your general ledger. But we have made an extra compatible version of advanced costing module, so you can calculate the true cost of an item. We also have included promotions and actions, so you can create your own multiple promotions. So think about promotion types like buy 3 get 1 for free, or buy 4 get 1 additional, or an additional discount on top of all the existing different price lists you have for customers, or customer discounts. You can even apply an additional discount on top of that. Or you also have a promotion type which is replace. So for example, you define in a specific period, for example, in the month of October, every AAA customer ordering a standard ink 10 standard ink cartridges, it should be automatically replaced with premium ink cartridges, for example. That's something which can be done with promotions and actions. We have made some small additions to time registration, because a lot of companies do want to register the time with a from until option. And of course, including optional pauses, and also the automatically calculation of overtime, and also optionally to work with negative overtime. We have included lifecycle management, so you can create life cycles for items and customers or vendors, and based on those life cycles, you can then block or allow certain processes in Business Central. So, for example, if you create a new customer, it gets the lifecycle status new, and you are blocking creating new orders for that specific customer until it gets the lifecycle status active. But to be able to change the lifecycle status from that customer from new to active, one of the required workflow steps is, for example, to do a credit check. So that's basically what's lifecycle management in a nutshell. Advanced pricing and discounts, basically the additional option to apply 3 levels of discount percentages at the same time, and or make any combinations. Then, if we go to the next slide, I do have control, but here it is. Someone is trying to help me. Complaint management. So you are able to register complaints with all kinds of different priorities within your system. Basically, think about it as a lightweight ticket system, right? So you can register complaints, define workflows, how to follow up on those complaints, and assign them to specific users. We also have quality control. Basically, that gives you the option to perform tests on your incoming or outgoing goods with specific quality control documents, where you are then required to perform certain steps, and if the steps are within the boundaries of your test requirements, then you're able to post the receipt or post the shipment. With advanced project management, you are able to create workflows on top of your projects. You can create sub-projects. You can manage the workflows like I mentioned, and also a very small minor option, but really appreciated in the field as well, is to secure projects from others. So basically you can define which type of users can see which projects in the system. Logistic orders make it easier, basically a little bit linked to the new feature Bernie has mentioned before as well, but you can request materials from the warehouse directly into your from your project environment, and then as a shipping method, then it's a pickup. Think about a construction company. You're at the project, you want to request materials from the warehouse before 2 p.m. in the afternoon, so that in the warehouse it can be prepared, so that the next morning the construction workers within the van can take the materials with them. Rental management makes it possible for you to manage rental assets, both for internal and external rental, and also with all the advanced details like non-availability time, preparation time, setup time, transport, etc. With the whole calendar behind it to see which of your rental assets are available. Cash register, basically kind of a lightweight POS system, not targeting specifically the true retail shops, but as you might know, of course, a lot of the wholesale companies also have a kind of a side business that people are just visiting their location, do one basically a sale at that time at the desk, and basically with the cash register lightweight POS system with minimalistic order screens, you're making convenient for the people to quickly process those type of orders. And the last one, last but not least, is empowered accounting, which is basically an umbrella feature where we are incorporating all kind of very minor financial enhancements, right? The financial enhancements we have done as partners in the last 20 years to make it better. And for example, the first feature which is included here is to simply split multiple sales lines from your document to multiple ledger entries. And the idea is that specifically for this feature, to make this a community feature, right? So that we as partners can suggest small enhancements and we can then include it as well. Then let's go to the next. If you want to learn more, please go to our website, companion.com/empowered/functionalities. Here we have an overview of all those features I mentioned, with enhanced feature descriptions. We have recorded demo calls of every feature available, and also step-by-step instruction videos on how to set those features up in the environments, and also how to use them. Basically, just a few seconds, what's the reason behind it? We, of course, get Business Central from the shelf of Microsoft, 2024 release wave 2. On top of that, you as a partner, of course, have your distinctive IP, which makes you stand out from competition. But all the generic gap filling, the feature Microsoft is not adding, but heavily requested in the channel, that's something we are taking care of, which you can get at Companion. Call to action, bring us in contact with your product manager or head of consultancy or whatsoever, and you will get a free service license to play around and test around yourself with all those new features, so you can experience the value of those features in Empowered Business Central. And to get in contact, please reach out to me. Can by email, william.vanvoorthuizen@companion.com, and of course that will be shared with you as well. And with that, I would love to hand it over back to Bernie.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, William, I thought you couldn't advance the slide. I advanced it and you clicked as well, and then we both went back. Okay, just a little call to action at the end over here. Just want to introduce you guys to the Companion Migration and Modernization Program, is what we're calling. If you want to upgrade to Business Central and you need some tools and things to do that, we will provide you with all the tools and things that you can use to actually upgrade. So what happened was, we wrote all of these tools and things to assist partners to do upgrades, and we've done over 900 successful upgrades to Business Central. And Microsoft came to us and said, we need to accelerate this. There's no way in which we can utilize these tools to upgrade every single customer out there. So we want to make your tools available to the partners. So what we're doing is, to all of our companion partners, we've made all of our tools available for you to use to upgrade your customers a lot faster and a lot easier and a lot quicker for free. And what you can do is you can actually use this to deliver migration assessments. You can do clean starts, and you can have the support of a whole bunch of seasoned experts. So where you are at the moment is you're looking at the M&M presentation at the moment. So what you can do is you can request an agreement from us and become a companion member, sign that agreement, attend a kickoff meeting, and then we will actually onboard you onto the program, train you for free, and you can actually use the tools that we have to do upgrades a lot faster. You can actually use for free. So what you'll actually get from us is you'll get unlimited usage of the migration assessments. There's AIM reports that you can use to claim AIM assessments from Microsoft as well. There's a Clean Start toolbox that will help you do Clean Start upgrades. And you'll also get free support from our experts. And the only thing we require from you is that you do monthly reporting to us on all migrated customers, because how we get paid for this is Microsoft will actually pay us for the upgrades that you've actually completed. So it's a completely free tool for you to use. You're going to need to get in touch with us for more details about this. And I have included a slide at the end over here where someone asked that all the links that I pasted into the chat, that I just throw them in over there. Someone actually did paste a link to the learn.microsoft.com subscription billing page. So the learn.microsoft.com page is actually available. I should have just checked that, whether that's available before the time, but I already started looking at this beginning of last month when nothing was available. But there we go. The page actually is available over there. And someone asked about the telemetry. What telemetry is going to be released for this version? If you actually go to aka.ms/BC telemetry, all the telemetry signals that are emitted is available on this page. And then at the end over here, you will see as footnotes. Footnote number 9 is all the telemetry that was introduced in 2023 release wave 2. So keep an eye on this page. There will be a footnote over there with all the telemetry introduced with 2024 release wave 2. And then you can see which of these signals was actually introduced with what version of Business Central. We have been answering most of the questions in there. The chat will remain open if you guys do have any other questions. Let me just quickly see over there whether we did answer all of the questions in the chat over there. Someone did ask about the empowered. Oh, I see, Jan, you did answer that one. It's still going to be per industry over there.
Only the last one is not answered yet, Bernie.
Okay, let me just see. Do you have any news regarding the new sales purchase pricing experience? Will it be mandatory in version 26? Yes, I do believe that will be mandatory in version 26. Microsoft has actually postponed activating that twice before for the partners because of complaints from the partners saying that. So it was supposed to be mandatory in version 24. Microsoft postponed that to version 26. I don't believe that there will be another delay because they have already delayed it for us twice. Let's just see. There is a question in the Q&A over there. Does the Copilot fund still need storage? Oh, I see these questions are answered. And I see that one is answered as well. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Please feel free to throw it into the chat over there. Raise your hand. We can unmute you.
Yeah, the last question is about any update on BC on-prem.
Yeah, so I'm not actually sure exactly what you're referring to over there, but all of the features that's new over here will be new in the on-prem version as well. What, however, will happen is if some of these features, let me maybe just stop sharing and reshare my whole screen, then I can actually show you over there. If you actually go to aka.ms/BC, oh, there we go, BC release plan. On the release plan itself, they will actually tell you that some of these features, if you go to what's new and planned, it will tell you on a lot of these features that some of these features aren't available yet. let's find a feature that we know isn't available. So under Copilot, which one of these start? So they will say over here, some of the functionality described that has not been released yet. So you'll see that it's will go into public preview in October 2024. They will usually say it over there. And then afterwards, I will put a link into the chat where you can actually go and see what month Microsoft is planning on releasing some of these features. So obviously, if it gets released with 24.2 for the on-prem, that feature will only be available on 24.2. So same with the cloud. So whatever version it gets released on, that's the version that will become available on the on-prem. So there's another question. Do you offer support for enhancing already implemented BC projects, add, set up new features, etc.? I would say get in touch with your PSM or get in touch with me. You can find my LinkedIn on the screen over there, as well as my email address. You can find in the chat. Get in touch with me, and I'll put you in touch with someone that can actually assist you on that. Yep, I copied this as a template. Next update webcast. I completely did not even look at the last slide. Sorry about that over there. Yeah, so that is true as well. Some of the features, of course, will be SaaS exclusive. I don't believe you're going to have to read each and every individual feature to see whether it will be available on-prem or SaaS. They will. So this page over here is 2024 Release Wave 2 plan, and under SMB Business Central, you will find all of the features that we spoke about, all of the articles about these features you will find in these sections over there. So you'd have to go to what's new and planned, find the feature over there, and go to that specific feature to find out whether it will be SaaS exclusive or on-prem. If they don't mention anything, it should be available for both versions. Thanks, guys. I do believe we're out of time. Let's see. Time is up.